Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to the GBC SPT page. My name is Deva Madhavadas, and I'm really happy to have with us today Her Grace Prabhupada Priya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome, Prabhupada Priya. My obeisances to you.
Jai, my obeisances to you, Prabhu.
I didn't want to miss the chance to introduce you, even though I have to come from my car to do it. Prabhupada Priya is one of the pillars at the Krishna House, the famous program in Gainesville, Florida, which is, bar none, the most powerful preaching program and effort that we have here in North America, and I would say probably in the Western world. The impact that the devotees have, not only in touching hearts, but also then helping people develop their bhakti practice, is literally unprecedented. And she is one of the best teachers that I've heard anywhere in ISKCON, and she's a treasure of that place there in Gainesville, Florida. So we're really happy to have you with us today to discuss the vision of the universal form, not on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but in Vraj. So we'll turn it over to you now, Prabhupada Priya, and thank you again for being with us today.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Welcome, everyone. I'll just begin with a little Mangala Charanam. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitanscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Siti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Shatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'm very honored, and it's also my great pleasure to be here with all of you today. As Prabhu said, I'll be speaking about Mother Yashoda's vision of the universal form. So most of this is in chapter 8, which is the chapter that's designated for me today. But there's a little foreshadowing of this pastime at the end of chapter 7. So I'll start with that. If any of you are following along in your books, we're looking at Canto 10, Chapter 7, and I'm starting here from text 34. So from Chapter 7, you know that Krishna has just killed the Trinavarta demon, and Trinavarta carried him up to the air, then Krishna became heavy, and then Trinavarta came crashing down on a stone slab on his back, and Krishna was there just on the chest of the demon, totally unscathed. And Mother Yashoda, she goes and she picks him up, she puts him on her lap, and then she's giving him her breast milk very affectionately. So Krishna's drinking milk, and he's very peaceful. And then, after all of his adventures in the sky with Trinavarta, he's feeling sleepy. So then he yawns. So Mother Yashoda is gazing at his beautiful, sweet, chubby lotus face, and then all of a sudden his mouth, he yawns, and it's like just like his mouth opens in the way a flower opens up, and it's like a flower blossoming, and his face looks even more beautiful. And generally speaking, little babies look super cute when they yawn. So imagine Krishna yawning. And so Mother Yashoda, when he opens his mouth, she takes the opportunity to look inside to see if he's got any new baby teeth. So this is pastime, very parental kind of things that get, one of the things that gives parents joy. I had 2 children myself, and I remember personally that it was always just very endearing, you know, when the little baby teeth start coming in on your baby, and then you see the first tooth, and then you notice there's a second one, and then after that, every time they open their mouth, you're like, let's see if there's any more teeth coming, and then some guests come, and you make them open their mouth. Look, there's another tooth. Now she's got 4 teeth or something. So it's kind of like a very, you know, Bhaktivaibhava sort of pastime. So that's what Mother Yashoda is doing, because she's Krishna's mother, and that's part of the relationship between mothers and babies. So Krishna yawns, and Mother Yashoda is looking in his mouth to see if he has any new teeth. And so she doesn't see any teeth, but what she sees is the whole universe. She sees, you know, all the planets, not only in our solar system, but the whole 14 planetary systems from Brahma Loka all the way down to Patala Loka. And as well as, you know, the sun, the moon, and the mountains, and the fields and forests and plants and animals. Everything is there in Krishna's tiny little mouth. So then Mother Yashoda starts trembling. It's described that she's starts trembling out of fear. And why is she fearful? Is she like Arjuna, who, when he saw the universal form on the battle of Kurukshetra, he started trembling out of fear too? But if we remember, why was Arjuna afraid? It's because he was thinking, oh no, this person that I was thinking was my friend, and, you know, we lied together on the same bed, we joked and laughed together, we ate together. I just treated him like an ordinary person. And sometimes, you know, my jokes were even a little bit insulting. And now here he is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, you know, he's regretting that. He's thinking, what is going to happen to me now? I've been so offensive. I didn't appreciate my friend's glories. And he practically ceases to see him as his friend at that moment. So he's just trembling out of fear of the whole, overwhelmed by the experience, and worrying about his relationship and what's happening. So is that why Mother Yashoda is trembling? Is she thinking, oh no, I've chastised this boy so many times. I've chased him with a stick. I've raised my hand threatening to beat him. And now he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What will become of me? Was she thinking like that? Not at all. She is seeing all these, you know, strange things going on in Krishna's mouth. And she's thinking, oh no, what's wrong with my child? He must be terribly ill. He's got a serious stomach problem. And so, you know, her parental mood was not shaken at all. It was just increased more. Her motherly affection, her concern about her child's safety and welfare was just enhanced by the whole experience. And so she simply prays to Lord Vishnu, please protect my child. Please don't let any harm come to him. Like that. So that's characteristic of Mother Yashoda, that her Vatsalya Prem, her maternal affection, is never diminished by knowledge of Krishna's opulence. And we can contrast that with Mother Devaki's affection, because they're both mothers of Krishna, but the nature of their love for Krishna is different. Devaki's love is technically called Jnanamayi Bhakta, because her devotion, her bhakti, is mixed with Gyan. So Jnanamayi Bhakti. But Yashoda's devotion, her love for Krishna, is Kevala Bhakti. It's just only pure loving devotion. And that's also characteristic of all the Vrajabasis, that their love is completely pure, no matter what their relationship, whether they're servants of Krishna or friends of Krishna or parent and parental mood towards Krishna, or even Krishna's lovers. No one thinks that Krishna is God. Nobody knows that Krishna is God. Even if they're told, you know, like we're going to, in the beginning of chapter 8, Gargamuni, he makes a whole, you know, proclamation that this child is non-different from Narayan. And then Krishna also performs all these amazing feats, you know, like he's already killed Putana, he's already killed Trinavarta, he's kicked over this huge heavy cart when he was just barely able to roll his body over. but nobody's thinking. It just doesn't faze them. So Krishna, he enjoys this. This is Krishna's super excellence. And in the association of these devotees who just love Krishna, that they simply love Krishna, then Krishna can enjoy his sweetest, his most tender, loving pastimes. And because their love is so overwhelming, then he also becomes conquered by their love. And that's something that we're very aware of this month, because we sing about that every day when we sing the Damodarastika. We sing that line, Tadiye Shita Geshu Bhaktir Jitatvam Puna Prema Tastam Sata Ritivane. So that's Tadiye Shita. Tadiya means his, and Ishita means it's from Isha, the controller. So and then Geshu means those who know. So Krishna's, through these childhood pastimes, Krishna's teaching people, these Geshus, people who know about Krishna's opulence, who know that he's the supreme controller, who know all about his divine majesty. He's teaching them what? Bhaktir Jitatvam, that he is conquered and overwhelmed by pure, loving, devotional service. So these pastimes are a lesson to all other kinds of spiritual practitioners, the jnanis, the karmis, the yogis, that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about how after many, many births, bahunam janmanam ante gyanavam mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. That after many, many births and deaths, these karmis, jnanis, and yogis, they come to the realization that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Krishna is everything, and they surrender to Krishna. But now Krishna is saying that this is not enough. Just coming to the point of surrender is not enough. Bhagavad Gita ends where the Srimad Bhagavatam begins. So Bhagavad Gita brings us to the point of surrender. And then one may wonder, well, what does that look like? One liberated, complete surrender to Krishna, what does that look like? So then we see what that looks like in the 10th canto, that then you forget about all these things. So the Bhagavatam takes us on that journey, that through the first 9 cantos, we learn all about Krishna's, that Krishna is the object of worship. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, the different features of Krishna, the universal form is described, repeatedly in the beginning cantos, and then, Krishna as the source of all incarnations. Ete chamsa kalapum sam Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam, that, then all the incarnations are described, but that Krishna is the fountainhead of all of those. And then when you get to the 10th canto, and it's like, but this is really where it's at. This is really what it means to be a devotee, is to just forget about all of those opulences, all of those other features, and just love Krishna. So then somebody might ask, well, how do we go from, realizing Krishna as the supreme controller and surrendering to him and worshiping him? How do we move from that platform of devotion mixed with jnana to kevala bhakti, to the pure love that the Brajvasis have for Krishna? And the way we do that is just hearing about these pastimes, just hearing these sweet Vrindavan pastimes over and over and over again, until the love of the Brajvasis, that the Brajvasis have for Krishna, awakens within us. That when we are able to relish Krishna's sweetness, the ways that he deals with his devotees, and just how soft and sweet and loving he is, then that awakens our dormant love for Krishna. When the hearing is done in conjunction, of course, with all the other processes of devotional service, chanting our rounds and kirtan and morning program and service. So this hearing is very important, and it's really nice that we all have this opportunity to hear Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes every day of Kartik. It's very powerful. So in the beginning of the 8th chapter, then Gargamuni starts with Krishna's astrological reading. So it's interesting because this is where he's going to say all these things about Krishna, that Krishna is Narayan. He's the source of all the incarnations. This boy has appeared in every yuga in different colors. He's known by so many different names. But then what happens after that, chronologically in the Bhagavatam, is that after hearing that Krishna is non-different from Narayan, we hear all these really very ordinary kind of baby pastimes of Krishna. You know, how he's crawling through the mud with Balaram, because in Vrindavan, the cows are roaming. There's so many cows roaming about. And so, you know, cows, they're just walking, and they're passing urine, they're, you know, passing cow dung. So the whole ground around, you know, the courtyard of Yashoda and Nandaraj's house is always muddy with, you know, cow urine and cow dung mixed with earth. It's always just kind of wet and muddy. And so Krishna and Balaram just crawl. They're just babies. They're out and about, and they're crawling through all of that. They're not wearing any clothes. Maybe they have a little string or a little like jeweled belt or something like that, some jewelry. But it's described how they're dressed with the muddy earth. They're just crawling through that mud and getting covered in it. That's the only thing that they're wearing, is just the dirt mixed with cow urine and cow dung and like that. And sometimes they'll grab hold of the calves' tails, and the calves will get scared and start running, and they'll be dragged even more through that mud, and give a lot of entertainment to the cowherd women that way. Krishna is Gopi Jana Vallabha. He's always giving joy to the cowherd women. And it's described also how when Krishna is crawling, he gets attracted. He likes the sound of tinkling ankle bells. So sometimes he'll hear some ankle bells, and then he'll start following the person, thinking that it's Mother Yashoda or Rohini, because they also wear ankle bells. So he's crawling, following the ankle bells. And then the person that he's following, the woman that he's following, will turn around and be like, "Oh, Krishna, you know, it's so funny how he's just crawling here." And then Krishna will realize, "Oh no, this is not my mother." And then he'll be totally embarrassed, and he'll turn around and go back. I don't know if this happened to any of you, but one time I was in a supermarket, and I was small. I was maybe like 5 years old, and I picked up something, and I started showing it to my mother and explaining, you know, showing her, "Oh, look at this. I really like this. This is really neat," or whatever. And then after a while of talking, the person wasn't saying anything, and I looked up and I was like, "Oh, that's not my mother." And I was mortified. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. I just didn't know what to say, and I didn't know where my mother was either. So anyways, I found her, and yeah, but so sometimes that happened to Krishna. That Krishna, playing this role, you know, of an ordinary child, of an innocent child, sometimes he would get embarrassed, and then he would turn around and go back to Mother Yashoda. So, and also sometimes he would even he would hear the sound of his own bells, because he would have the belt, this jeweled belt with little bells hanging off it. So while he's crawling, he's hearing those bells ringing. And then he likes the sound of the bells, so he wants to see where it's coming from. So he stops crawling, and then he turns around, and he's like looking for it, but then he can't hear it anymore because he stopped crawling. And then he's like, "Oh, whatever." Then he starts crawling again, and he hears it again. So he stops, but then he's like, "Where is it?" So like this, he's just like a little baby, you know. He's curious about the sound, but then he can't find the sound because every time he stops, it stops ringing, and it's just right there on his own waist. So these early childhood pastimes of Krishna are just so sweet and endearing, and especially during the Krishna's Kumar age, from birth to age 5. That's his Kumara age. And the Vatsalya Bhav is prominent out of all the other rasas. The parental rasa is very prominent. So during this period of time, also during this age, Krishna has all these mischievous pastimes that are very well known, where he goes to people's houses and he steals the butter, and he breaks the pots and feeds it to the monkeys. And if he can't get the butter, then he'll do some other mischief, like he'll go into another room of the house and find the sleeping babies and pinch them and make them cry. Or if the woman or the man of the house comes out and shouts at him, then he'll get angry and he'll want to get some revenge. So he'll go to another room where it's very clean, like the kitchen or the deity room, and he'll just pee on the floor or pass stool on the floor. So like this, Krishna does all these really naughty things as a daily pastime. Of course, the cowherd women, they relish these things. Their anger is only pretend. They actually love it when Krishna comes to their house and steals his butter. And even while they're making the butter, they're churning their butter and they're thinking, oh, I really hope Krishna's going to come. I'm going to make the best butter today, and I hope that Krishna's going to come and steal it. They're thinking like that. So, but anyways, just like any devotees have a taste for speaking about Krishna's activities, they also want to speak about Krishna's activities. So then they go to Mother Yashoda and they complain. So that's their Krishna Katha. Their Krishna Kathas, they go to the house of Mother Yashoda, they knock on the door and they say, your son is so naughty. He's always coming to our house and he's always just making a big mess. He's stealing our butter. He's breaking the pots and he's feeding the monkeys and he's making a mess on the floor. He's making our babies cry. We've had it with him. So in narrating and describing all of Krishna's pastimes, they're actually taking great pleasure. And Krishna's sitting right there, of course, with his big brown eyes, and he's pretending to be afraid. Mother Yashoda, don't punish me. And then Mother Yashoda will be like, maybe I should punish him. But then they all look at him and nobody can punish him. So, but actually Krishna wants to be punished because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nobody chastises him. Nobody ever punishes him. So this is a very unique pastime in which he can get scolded like an ordinary child. So he's hoping for that. He actually wants that to happen. And we're going to see what happens next. So when Krishna gets older, then he starts to go and play with the neighboring children. The little boys and girls of the village get together and they go to different spots and they play together. So they do all kinds of things, and they like to play in the dirt. Just like every small child has some kind of dirt pile or sandbox. In the West, the parents make a little sandbox in the backyard for the kids to play with, or they go to the beach and make sandcastles. Or my cousins had this big just dirt pile that they used to play with their toy trucks and shovels and buckets. And so Krishna would do the same kind of thing. They would go to a place where there was some nice dirt, and it was like very kind of had a clayey consistency. It was kind of like dirt mixed with clay, so it was moldable, and they could get the dirt and mix it with a little water and make shapes and make things. And so they would make houses and they make roads and little villages, and they would do a whole scene like that. And sometimes one boy would be making some house, some structure, and then another one would go and break it. Sometimes Krishna would go and break the other boy's house, or Krishna would make something and then one of the other children would come and just like step on what Krishna made. And so like this, they would play and they would tease each other and be just naughty and playful children. So on one particular day, Krishna's off by himself. He's a little bit distant from the other children, and he's sitting there and he's just making some things with it. He finds some nice clay and he's making little like mud cakes, and then he starts eating them. So this is something that like children do. If you watch children playing in the dirt, they'll like squeeze it and press it and make it, and then they'll just take a bite out of it. That's what children do. So Krishna did that. And then Balaram, he sees it happening. And because at this age, this Vatsalya Prem is very strong, that even Balaram gets a little bit, like his relationship, of course, is Sakya, he's a friend, but because he's the older brother, he also has a little hint of the Vatsalya Bhav. And so, he has this mood that he has to protect Krishna and take care of Krishna. So he's worried that, oh no, Krishna's eating dirt, he's going to get sick, I have to tell Mother Yashoda. So this is also, I was saying before that Krishna wants to be chastised, that he's looking forward to that experience, that relationship of just being chastised by his mother. So then when the cowherd women complained before about Krishna stealing butter from their homes, Mother Yashoda doesn't do anything. She just looks at him and her heart just melts. So then Krishna's energies, Krishna has all these Shaktis, and they're all at work in his pastimes, and they know the desire of the Lord. So Krishna, he doesn't have to think, I'm the Lord, now I'm going to make this happen. He's not thinking that at all in this Vrindavan Lila. He's just totally playing the part of an ordinary child, and he's letting all his Shaktis just do the work. So in this case, Krishna's Lila Shakti inspires Lord Balaram to go and complain so that he'll get in trouble, because Krishna wants to be in trouble because he wants to have the pleasure of having this loving exchange with Mother Yashoda in which he's chastised. So then Balaram files his complaint, and this is in text chapter 8, text 32. I'll read the Sanskrit for this. We'll at least get one verse and a little purport here by Srila Prabhupada. So, Ekada Kridamanaste Ramadya Gopadarakaha Krishna Mridam Bhakshitavan Iti Matre Nyavadayan. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. One day, while Krishna was playing with his small playmates, including Balaram and other sons of the Gopas, all his friends came together and lodged a complaint to Mother Yashoda. Mother, they submitted, Krishna has eaten earth. Purport. Here is another of Krishna's transcendental activities invented to please the gopis. First, a complaint was lodged with Mother Yashoda about Krishna's stealing, but Mother Yashoda did not chastise him. Now, in an attempt to awaken Mother Yashoda's anger so that she would chastise Krishna, another complaint was invented, that Krishna had eaten earth. So this is the complaint here. Krishna Mridam Bhakshitavan. So Mridam means clay, just like we have the Mridanga. So Mrida Anga means the Anga means the limb or the body. So the Mridanga has a body made of Mrida, clay. So Balaram's saying Krishna Mridam Bhakshitavan. It's like bakshish means your food, you're eating. So Krishna's eating mrida. Krishna has eaten clay. That's the complaint. And so why did Krishna eat clay? Why would Krishna eat dirt? Because on one hand, he's just being a baby. So he could say, yeah, he's just a little baby eating dirt. But then other people have different ideas, because at the same time, we know he's the Lord. So why is the Lord doing this pastime of eating dirt? So there are different ideas here from different commentators. Some say that it's to reciprocate with Mother Earth, with Bhuma, to Lord Brahma and with all the demigods to the ocean of milk to ask for him to come. And now Krishna came, so now he wants to give some little intimate exchange with Mother Earth by eating her. Some say it's to glorify the dust of Vrindavan. Krishna is showing that this dust is worshipable, it's eatable. Devotees, when they go to Vrindavan, they get some dust and sometimes bring it back, and then every day they'll just take a little bit of that dust. So Krishna does the same. And some say it's to purify the universe, just like when we offer bhoga to Krishna, and then Krishna, he eats that offering, it becomes sanctified, it becomes pure, and then when we take that prasadam, we also become purified. So when Krishna eats a little bit of the earth, of the universe, a little piece of our universe, then the whole universe becomes sanctified and becomes purified, and that benefits all of the residents of the universe. So these are some reasons that may be there for Krishna's eating dirt. But from Krishna's point of view, he's not thinking that way. He's just being a baby, and that's what babies do. And Balaram is being the older brother, and that's what older brothers do. They get worried about their little brothers. So this pastime is very much nourishing Mother Yashoda's love. Although it looks like she's getting angry, but that anger is arising out of love. Because when parents get angry when their children do something wrong, it's not really anger, but it's because the parents love the children. They want them to, learn how to behave properly. They want to protect them so they don't get, sick or hurt or anything like that. So out of love, she scolds him. And she says, Krishna, you restless child, what are you eating dirt for? I give you so many nice sweets. I make the best sweets out of the best milk from the best cows for you every day. What is wrong with you? Why do you have to eat dirt? So then Krishna, just like an ordinary child might do, because maybe some of you can remember when you were small and you did something and you were getting in trouble, or you were about to get in trouble, there's this thought that comes over you that's like, I'll do anything to avoid, getting grounded or getting beaten or, just getting in trouble, because nobody likes to be in trouble. So then Krishna, he tells a little lie. He says, or at least it seems like a lie. He says, I didn't eat dirt. Balaram's lying. All these other boys are lying. They're just trying to get me into trouble. So then that raises a question. Who is really lying? That's Mother Yashoda's question, because she's thinking, I know my Krishna's a little naughty, and I wouldn't put it past him to lie. And Balaram, he's generally a good boy. He's always looking after Krishna. But then again, Krishna seems pretty, solidly determined that he didn't eat it. And also, if we look at the scriptural background of who these personalities are, it's described that the cowherd boys, they are Krita Punya Punjaha, that after many lifetimes of pious activities, they're able to become the friends of Krishna and play with him. So many, many lifetimes of pious activities. So these cowherd boys aren't going to lie. And then Krishna, he is Param Sattvam, right? We hear that in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam. He's the supreme absolute truth. So can the absolute truth speak a lie? No, no one can, none of it. So the answer is that just none of them are lying. So then what's going on here? Actually, it's a fact that everybody is speaking the highest truth, because the highest truth, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains it in this way, that the highest truth is not truthfulness. The highest truth is actually love. And Krishna's lying, just out of his childish fear of being punished, nourishes Mother Yashoda's maternal love. It heightens the emotional intensity of the exchange. So this is Krishna. Krishna just, he's always acting for the pleasure of the devotee. Everything that Krishna does in relation to his devotees is just to increase their love for him. And this is Krishna's truth. This is the Param Sattva, the supreme Param Satyam. The supreme truth is just is love for Krishna, and whatever increases a devotee's love for Krishna. So then Mother Yashoda, her emotions become even more intensified, and she challenges Krishna. She says, okay, if you didn't eat dirt, then prove it. Open your mouth right now and just show me. So now Krishna is challenged, and he is not thinking, all right, well, I'm obviously the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I'm going to play a trick on my mother, and I'm going to show her my universal form. He's not thinking like that, because again, he by his own previous will has covered himself by Yoga Maya. So he's not thinking that he's God. He's not thinking that he has the ability to show a universal form. He doesn't even know what a universal form is. He's just a baby. That's how he sees the whole situation. And the only reason he's opening his mouth is because his mother is telling him to, and she's got him by the hand, and all the boys are standing there, and he's just kind of between a rock and a hard place, and he has no other choice but to open his mouth. But Krishna has all these Shaktis. So just like before, Krishna's Lila Shakti was inspiring Balaram to complain about him. Now Krishna's Aishvarya Shakti is going to manifest the universal form. This Aishvarya Shakti is always looking for an opportunity for service in Vrindavan. She really wants to take part in Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, but it's hard because Krishna doesn't often show his Aishvarya features in Vrindavan. He doesn't want to, because that's not the Vrindavan mood. So now finally she sees an opportunity. So the Aishvarya Shakti is thinking, oh yeah, now here's my chance to serve Krishna in Vrindavan. Now I'm going to be able to save Krishna from getting in trouble. I'm going to be able to prove that he's not a liar. So then this manifestation of the universal form in Krishna's mouth was not Krishna directly doing it, but it was Krishna's Aishvarya Shakti. So, of course, Krishna could have done it because he is the Lord, but he had taken this, he had appeared as a human child in Braj just to relish these sweet, playful pastimes. And actually, if you think about it, the sweet pastimes of the sweet loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees in Vrindavan, these are the real opulences of Krishna. These are the real Aishvaryas, because Krishna has 64 transcendental qualities. And out of those, the first 50, the jivas can also have, to some extent anyway. Then the next 5, Lord Shiva and the other demigods can also have. They also do have. And then the next 5, the Vishnu, any Vishnu Tattva incarnations can have. So that's already 60 out of 64 qualities that other people can also have in addition to Krishna. Then there are only 4 qualities that are unique to Krishna. So these are Krishna's real opulences. These are the qualities that only Krishna is so exalted that he can manifest these qualities. And what are they? They're all about his sweetness. There's Rupa Madhuri, the sweetness of his beautiful transcendental form. There's Venu Madhuri, the sweet sound of his melodious flute, which captivates the hearts of all living entities. There's Lila Madhuri, Krishna's sweet transcendental pastimes in Vrindavan. And then Prema Madhuri, the sweet loving devotees that Krishna is always surrounded by, like Mother Yashoda and the cowherd boys and the gopis of Vrindavan. So these are really Krishna's real opulences, the thing that is exclusively and supremely Krishna's. And therefore, we have that song that goes, Madhuradipater Akilam Madhuram, that everything is sweet about the king, the emperor of sweetness, who is Krishna. So then here we have Yashoda, and she's seeing this universal form in Krishna's belly. And we know also from the Damodarastika that Twadiya Darayata Vishvasya Damne, that again, Twadiya means his, and Udara means the belly. Twadiya Udarayata, that in your belly, or your belly, then Vishvasya Damne. So Damne means the shelter, and Vishvas means the universe. That when we sing that your belly, which is bound by Mother Yashoda, your belly is the abode, the shelter of the entire universe. So now Yashoda is seeing, she's seeing exactly that Krishna's belly is the abode of the entire universe. She's looking in his mouth and she's seeing the entire universe in his belly. So this vision of the universal form within Krishna's mouth is not actually meant for Mother Yashoda. It's not her thing. It doesn't go with her relationship with Krishna, but it's actually meant for the Shanta Bhaktas, those who are who worship Krishna in a mood of neutrality. So Krishna, Rupa Goswami says that Krishna is Akila Rasamrita Murti, that he is the form, the reservoir of all the rasas, a complete form of all nectarian relationships with Krishna. So in Krishna's pastimes, there's something for everyone. And here in this pastime, although it's mainly Vatsalya Bhava, there's also some Sakiras we saw with the friends playing with Krishna, and there's also some Shanta Ras for those Shanta Bhaktas that like to think of Krishna just, admiring his greatness from a distance. They can admire, for them that would be the prominent thing here, the universal form. That would be the prominent thing. But that's not at all prominent in Mother Yashoda's mind. For Mother Yashoda, that's just, insignificant. And so how did Mother Yashoda react to seeing this? It was something very confusing to her because, of course, she doesn't see her son this way. So she's trying to figure out what is going on here. And she asks herself, first of all, is this a dream? Am I dreaming? And then she reasons, no, it can't be a dream because my eyes are open. And then she thinks, well, is it an illusion that the demigods have created? And then she thinks, no, why would the demigods bother with me? I'm just an insignificant cowherd woman, in the village. Like, why would the demigods want to mess with me? And then she thinks, am I going crazy? Am I mentally deranged? And that's why am I hallucinating? And then she says, no, my mind has always been in good working order. Then finally she thinks, well, is this the mystic power of my son? Like Gagamuni said that he had all these mystic powers, that he was equal to Narayan, and that, so many things about him. And then she's pondering that, and then she thinks, no, it couldn't be that, because my son depends on me just to feed him and care for him. If it wasn't for me, he would starve, and he would be in a lot of danger. So what powers does my son have? He can't even feed himself. That's what she's thinking. But then as soon as she has that thought, it's interesting in this section of the Bhagavatam, Mother Yashoda is going through all these different thought processes. And then she thinks, well, wait a minute, is it actually me feeding Krishna? Does Krishna really depend on me? No, it's Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is feeding everybody. We all depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead for our maintenance. So Lord Vishnu is feeding and caring for us. And then she just decides, I'm just going to offer my obeisances to Lord Vishnu, who is the supreme controller. And I don't understand what's going on here, but I'm sure that he does. And he can protect my son from whatever this thing is that's problematic in his mouth. So like that, it's similar to the same response that she had before. So here we can learn a little lesson from Mother Yashoda, that whenever we have some situation in our lives that is problematic, that we can't figure out, we can't solve, we can't change, we can't understand, we should just follow her example of taking shelter of the Lord. And just whatever it is, Lord, let thy will be done in this situation, in a mood of surrender. And then our position will be secure. So then Mother Yashoda, she has this thought that Vishnu is the supreme, everything is happening by Vishnu's will. And so she continues on that line of philosophical reasoning. And she totally surrenders to Vishnu. She's like, Vishnu, I'm yours. This child is yours. Actually, Krishna is not my son. Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj is not my husband. These cows that I think are mine, they're also not my livestock. This home is not yours, mine. Everything belongs to you. So she totally she gets this sort of philosophical detachment where she gets free from all conceptions of I, me, and mine, and even in relation to Krishna, which is surprising for Mother Yashoda. So what's going on here? Mother Yashoda is saying that Krishna is not my son. But the Acharyas comment that Krishna actually inspires her to think like this, because this is a lesson that's, well, for one, it's very hard to learn. It's probably the hardest thing for us as conditioned souls to give up our attachments to, our possessions, and especially to close bodily relationships. The biggest attachment that we have in this world is, our family attachments. So this statement, this idea that you know, these things are not mine. The things that I own are not mine. These family members are not mine. That everything is just Krishna's energy. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything's controlled by Krishna. This kind of theme is repeated throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam in different scenarios. And so here it's another scenario. So this is true for us. It's actually true for us that our husbands and wives are not ours. Our children are not ours. The things that we have in our possession are not ours. Everything is Krishna's, and all these things are temporary. But for Mother Yashoda, it's not actually even true because Krishna is her son. He's eternally her son. Mother Yashoda is her eternal husband. These are, eternal relationships that go on in the spiritual world forever and ever. And actually her sense of possessiveness in relation to Krishna is one of the most glorious features of her ecstatic love for Krishna. It's glorious. This is just a very fleeting thought in Mother Yashoda's mind, and it's just there for our instruction, because after all, the Bhagavatam is for our instruction. So these philosophical points are interwoven in different places. But in the next second, Mother Yashoda just forgets everything, and then again she's just, oh Krishna, my son, whatever is wrong, I hope that Lord Vishnu will take care of it. What can I do? And so she just, like it says here in text 44, it says, immediately forgetting Yoga Maya's illusion that Krishna had shown the universal form within his mouth, Mother Yashoda took her son on her lap as before, feeling increased affection in her heart for her transcendental child. So this just, again, it increased her affection. And Prabhupada said that it was just like, when someone has a dream and then wakes up from a dream and immediately forgets it. So Mother Yashoda, she had this little, momentary vision of the universal form, and then she just immediately forgot it, like waking up from a dream. And then the only thing that it did was it just churned her ecstatic emotions of maternal love for Krishna. So like that. She says, now let this incident be forgotten. I don't mind. Here's my son. Let me kiss him. Srila Prabhupada quotes like that. She decided for herself, this is my son. Let me just kiss him. So she gives Krishna a little kiss on the cheek and cuddles him. And that's it. That's the end of the episode of the universal form. So that's all that I was going to say. And we have about 10 minutes left. I don't see any questions here. If you have any questions, then quickly type them in. No questions so far, Natasheshwar was saying. Okay, well, in that case, thank you very much for kindly listening. And I urge all of you to keep listening to these sweet pastimes of Krishna, because by hearing these pastimes, this is how our natural affection, that love for Krishna, which is there within the hearts of every living being, which is there in our hearts, will become awakened, and we'll be able to also follow in the footsteps of Krishna's eternal associates of Vrindavan, like Mother Yashoda and the gopis and the cowherd boys of Raj. So, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari